Quick question before we start. What if the most researched health food trend of the last few years isn't actually new at all? What if people were already eating it 3,000 years ago and somebody just wrote it down? Because that's basically what the Bible is, at least in one small corner of it. Buried between the prophecies and the genealogies is an entire diet. Real meals, real ingredients, eaten by real people trying to survive war, famine, exile, and everyday life. And a surprising amount of it lines up with what nutrition researchers are publishing right now. So, here are 10 of those foods, cross-checked against actual science, not just vibes. Quick preview. Number 5 involves a king, an infected wound, and a fruit. Most people only meat dried out at the bottom of a snack drawer. And number 10 is the only dish on this entire list with an official government-reviewed health claim attached to it. Let's get into it. Number 1. Sardine and olive plate with fresh herbs. Quick question. What's the cheapest protein in your grocery store right now? I'd bet it's not the salmon. It's probably that little tin sitting in the same aisle as canned beans, the one people almost apologize for buying. Sardines. And here's the twist. Plenty of cardiologists will half joke that tin is doing more for your heart than most of what's in your supplement drawer. Arrange whole sardines, or another small oily fish, on a plate with olives, sliced cucumber, torn flatbread, and a scatter of parsley. Drizzle everything with olive oil, crack some pepper over the top, and that's genuinely the whole recipe. This was daily lunch for fishing communities around the Sea of Galilee, eaten not as a health choice, but because it was what was available and affordable. Turns out cheap and available was also nutritional gold. Gram for gram, sardines carry some of the highest omega-3 concentrations of any fish people actually eat regularly, plus more calcium than a glass of milk. Because you eat the tiny bones along with the flesh. Add vitamin D, B12, selenium, and coenzyme Q10, and you've got a fish some nutrition researchers genuinely call close to nutritionally complete. Because they're small and low on the food chain, they also don't have time to accumulate the mercury that larger fish do. Here's a quiet fact. Most people miss. Sardines are one of the only fish on this entire list that hasn't really changed in thousands of years. Salmon gets farmed. Tilapia gets farmed. Sardines mostly can't be. They don't thrive in captivity the way other fish do. So the vast majority you'll find are still wild caught, still eating the same natural diet of plankton they always have. In a food system where almost everything has been bred, farmed, or engineered into something different than it used to be, that little tin is basically unchanged since biblical times. That's rare. Combined with the whole olives on the plate, not just the oil, the actual olive flesh, you're also getting hydroxytyrosol, one of the most bioavailable antioxidants we know of in the human diet. This plate takes 4 minutes to assemble and does more for your cardiovascular system than most people's entire lunch routine. All right, from the cheapest fish on the list, let's jump to the sweetest snack. Number 2 involves stuffing a fruit that ancient royalty treated like a luxury item. Number 2, stuffed dates with goat cheese and crushed almonds. If you're the kind of person who opens the pantry at 9 at night hunting for something sweet, I need you to hear this one before you reach for whatever's in the cupboard. Split soft dates lengthwise, pull out the pit, and fill each one with a bit of goat cheese. Roll or sprinkle with crushed almonds, add a light touch of cinnamon, and serve as a dense little snack plate. Dates and palm trees show up throughout the Bible as symbols of prosperity and vitality, And once you look at what's actually inside a date, that reputation starts to make sense. They're loaded with potassium, magnesium, copper, and manganese minerals. A lot of modern diets are quietly running low on +1 of the highest antioxidant contents of any fruit and tannins that appear to support the gut lining. Here's a fact that tends to surprise people. A well-cited study out of Jordan tracked pregnant women who ate 6 dates a day in the weeks before delivery and found they showed noticeably more cervical dilation on arrival at the hospital than women who didn't, along with shorter labor overall. Researchers think it's connected to compounds in dates that make uterine muscle more responsive to oxytocin. You don't have to be pregnant to find that a little wild. It's a strong hint at how metabolically active this simple fruit actually is. Here's the then versus now twist. Dates eaten across the ancient Near East came from dozens of regional varieties, each adapted to a specific oasis and climate. Today, 2 commercial varieties, Medjool and Deglet Noor, dominate almost the entire global date market, both selectively bred over the last century for size, sweetness, and shelf life. Pasteur, sûr. But you're eating a narrower slice of what dates used to be, genetically speaking, than almost any other fruit on this list. Add almonds for vitamin E and prebiotic fiber, plus goat cheese for easy-to-digest protein and live cultures. And 3 of these will out-mineral most multivitamins on your shelf. Speaking of foods that quietly do more than they get credit for, number 3 might change your mood before it changes anything else. Number 3. Fava bean mash with garlic and cumin. Ever eat a meal that leaves you calm afterward, like your whole nervous system just exhaled? That's not just comfort food talking. With this one, there's an actual biochemical reason. Simmer dried fava beans until soft, then mash with olive oil, crushed garlic, cumin, salt, and a splash of warm water until creamy. Top with parsley and chopped onion, another drizzle of oil, and eat warm with torn bread. Fava beans are among the oldest cultivated crops on Earth, feeding people across the Middle East and Mediterranean, long before chickpeas or soybeans became trendy. They're rich in L-dopa, the exact compound your brain converts into dopamine, along with folate, manganese, and copper. The garlic and cumin aren't just flavor. Either garlic has some of the strongest antimicrobial evidence of any food plant we've studied, and cumin has been shown in clinical research to stimulate digestive enzymes and reduce bloating. Quick safety note, because it's genuinely important and most recipe videos never mention it. A small percentage of people, most commonly of Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, or African descent, carry a genetic condition called G6PD deficiency, and fava beans can trigger a serious reaction in them. If you've never eaten fava beans before, it's worth knowing your family history first. For everyone else, they're one of the safest, most time-tested legumes there is. Here's an interesting then versus now wrinkle. Mitochrome. Unlike wheat, corn, or even chickpeas, fava beans haven't been heavily re-engineered by modern agriculture. There's been no green revolution moment for the fava bean, no aggressive breeding push for yield over nutrition. Genetically, the mash you'd make tonight is closer to what someone in the ancient Levant actually ate than almost any other ingredient on this list. Sometimes staying agriculturally boring is the best thing that can happen to a food. This is the dish that leaves you full and clear-headed, not because of anything added to it, but because of what was quietly left alone. All right, we've done fish, fruit, and beans. Time for the dish that stains everything. It touches a color you won't forget. Number 4, pomegranate chicken with fresh mint. This is the dish that stains your cutting board, a shade of red, no amount of scrubbing fully removes, and honestly, that should tell you everything about how concentrated the good stuff is inside this fruit. Brown chicken thighs in olive oil, then simmer gently with onion, garlic, pomegranate juice, and crushed pomegranate seeds, or molasses. Season with mint, coriander, and black pepper, and cook until the sauce thickens and clings to the chicken. Finish with fresh mint and pomegranate arils scattered on top. Pomegranates appear again and again in Scripture as symbols of abundance and blessing. And once you understand the chemistry, it's not hard to see why people treated this fruit like something almost sacred. Pomegranates contain punic allergens, some of the most potent antioxidants ever measured in a food. Research links them to lower blood pressure and reduced LDL oxidation. And early lab studies are looking at how these compounds interact with cancer cell growth. That work is still in its early stages, so don't take it as a green light to skip anything your doctors told you. But it's a genuinely active area of research. Fresh mint isn't just there for garnish either. It carries rosmarinic acid and menthol, both with real anti-inflammatory effects. And mint is one of the most reliable digestive aids in traditional medicine worldwide. Here's the then versus now detail worth knowing. Wild ancestral pomegranates were small, intensely tart, and packed with seeds, nothing like the plump, syrupy fruit sold at the store today. Modern commercial pomegranates, especially the varieties bred for the juice industry, have been selected over generations, specifically for sweetness and juice yield. Delicious, no argument there, but you're tasting a domesticated, softened version of a fruit that used to hit a lot harder, both in flavor and, likely, in the concentration of some of those antioxidant compounds. The deep red sauce from this dish tastes ancient in the best possible way. Rich, slightly tart, warmly spiced. This is a feast dish that also happens to be doing real work in your bloodstream. Now here's the one I told you about at the very beginning. A king, a wound, and a fruit most people have forgotten how to use. Number 5. Fig and walnut mash with cinnamon. All right, this is it, the one I promised you. In 2 Kings chapter 20, King Hezekiah is dying. The prophet Isaiah tells him God will heal him, and then gives an oddly specific set of instructions. Prepare a poultice of figs and put it on the boil. They do exactly that. Hezekiah recovers. It's one of the strangest little medical footnotes in the entire Bible, and for centuries, most readers just skimmed past it as a minor detail in a bigger story. Here's how to make something in that spirit today. Chop dried figs and simmer briefly in water until soft. Then mash with crushed walnuts, a spoon of honey, and a pinch of cinnamon into something thick and spoonable. Eat warm as a breakfast bowl or spread over toasted grain bread. Figs contain phycin, a plant enzyme that breaks down proteins, and lab studies do show it has real antimicrobial and tissue-degrading properties, which is probably part of why fig preparations show up in traditional wound care practices across several ancient cultures, not just this one story. To be clear, that's a historical pattern, not a modern medical recommendation. If you've got an actual infected wound today, that's a job for a doctor, not a fruit bowl. But it's a fascinating case of an ancient observation lining up with real plant chemistry. Thousands of years later, beyond that one dramatic use, figs are extraordinarily rich in calcium, potassium, and prebiotic fiber that feeds your beneficial gut bacteria. Walnuts add omega-3s and ellagic acid, a polyphenol linked to anti-inflammatory and brain protective effects. And real cinnamon has decent clinical evidence for improving insulin sensitivity. One honest, then, versus now. Note: fresh figs barely survive being shipped anywhere, so almost nobody today eats them the way ancient Mediterranean people did, ripe, in season, straight off the tree. Nearly everything you'll find at the store is dried, and a lot of commercially dried fruit gets treated with sulfur preservatives to extend shelf life and hold color. Find unsulfured dried figs, or better yet fresh ones, in late summer, and you're tasting something a lot closer to what Hezekiah's servants would have used. This is breakfast as history. Sweet, warming, and built from 3 ingredients that all show up in Scripture for good reason. We've hit the emotional peak of this list. Now, let's cool things down with something out of a New Testament fishing boat. Number 6. Broiled tilapia with hyssop, dill, and olive oil. Here's a fun one for anyone who grew up on New Testament stories. Remember the fish that keeps showing up, the one Peter's pulling out of the water again and again? This is that fish, or at least the one most tour guides around the Sea of Galilee will point to and call St. Peter's fish, a nickname, not an official scriptural ID, but one that's stuck for a reason. Rub whole fish fillets with olive oil, crushed garlic, chopped dill, parsley, and a pinch of salt, plus lemon, if you've got it. Broil or grill until flaky and lightly charred at the edges, then finish with more fresh herbs. Hyssop shows up throughout the Bible as a purification herb, and modern lab studies back up some real antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory activity in it. Dill was valuable enough in the ancient world that people paid religious tithes with it. It's literally named, in Matthew 23, as something people were taxed on, alongside mint and cumin. Olive oil does more than cook the fish here. It delivers oleocanthal, a compound that inhibits the same inflammatory pathway as low-dose ibuprofen. This isn't folklore, it's a real, published finding that made headlines when researchers first isolated it. Now here's the part that might actually change how you shop. Today, the large majority of tilapia sold worldwide is farmed, not wild-caught like the fish in these Galilee stories. And farming changes the fish more than you'd expect. Farm tilapia is typically raised on corn and soy-based feed. Instead of the natural algae and plankton a wild fish eats, and that shift shows up directly in its fat profile. Research out of Wake Forest University found farm tilapia can carry an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio as high as 11:1, compared to close to 1:1 in salmon or trout. That imbalance matters because a diet overloaded with omega-6 relative to omega-3 is linked to more inflammation, not less. None of this makes tilapia dangerous in moderation, but it does mean the fish on your plate today is nutritionally a different animal, quite literally, than the one people were eating along the Galilee coast 2,000 years ago. This is a meal that satisfies while it works quietly in the background. Simple, herbed, ancient, and worth knowing the fine print on. From a fish story, let's jump to one of the strangest oops moments in the entire Old Testament. Number 7. Braised vegetable pot with turnips and beans. Quick story. In 2 Kings chapter 4, a group of prophets is out gathering wild herbs for a communal stew when someone tosses in a poisonous gourd by mistake. Partway through the meal, someone realizes what's happened and shouts out. And this is a real, literal line from the text, that there is death in the pot. The prophet Elisha throws in flour. The stew is somehow made safe, and everyone eats. It's a genuinely dramatic little scene, and it tells you a lot about how central the communal cooking pot was to daily survival back then. Simmer onion, garlic, turnips, carrots, celery, and white beans in olive oil with parsley and thyme. Cooked low and slow in a clay pot style until the vegetables soften and the broth turns rich. Serve with bread for dipping. Turnips are one of the oldest cultivated vegetables on the planet and one of the most underrated today. They're rich in glucosinolates, the same cancer-protective compound family found in broccoli and cabbage, plus real amounts of vitamin C, potassium, and calcium. Slow cooking pulls these compounds straight into the broth, so every spoonful of liquid is doing as much work as the vegetables themselves. The beans add soluble fiber and plant protein, and the slow-cooked onions build up quercetin levels that raw onions simply don't have. Here's the honest then versus now. Turnips used to be one of the most important root vegetables across the ancient and medieval world, a genuine dietary backbone. Then the potato arrived in Europe from the Americas after 1492, and, within a couple of centuries, mostly pushed the turnip off the plate entirely. It's not that turnips got worse. We just collectively moved on to something else and left a genuinely nutrient-dense vegetable behind. This is the meal that keeps a household going through a hard winter. It was true then. It's still true now, if you're willing to give the humble turnip a second chance. All right, from a pot of stew to something you'll actually have to hunt down at a specialty butcher. Number 8. Herb roasted quail with garlic. Ever get a craving so intense you complain about it directly to God? Because that's a real story. In Numbers chapter 11, the Israelites in the wilderness get so sick of manna that they cry out for meat, and God responds by sending enormous flocks of migrating quail, so many that people were reportedly gathering them for 2 straight days. Rub quail or chicken pieces with olive oil, garlic, oregano, coriander, and salt. Then roast until the skin crisps and the meat stays juicy. Serve with roasted onions and olives for a meal that feels like an actual feast. Quail turns out to punch well above its size. Nutritionally direct comparisons show it's consistently richer in copper, iron, and several B vitamins than chicken, gram for gram. The oregano and coriander aren't random seasoning choices either. Oregano's carvacrol has real documented antimicrobial activity, and coriander contains compounds with genuine calming and digestive effects. Here's a then versus now detail almost nobody mentions. The quail in the Exodus story were wild, migratory birds, part of a species that still crosses the Sinai twice a year on its migration route. That migration is exactly why they showed up en masse at the right moment. Nearly every quail sold commercially today, though, is a completely different, fully domesticated species called Japanese quail, bred in captivity for consistent size and easy farming since the early 20th century. It's genuinely a different bird than the one that fed the Israelites, even though we use the same name for both. This is the feast meal, the one you cook when you want to feel properly, ancestrally fed. It fills the kitchen with a smell that pulls people to the table without you having to call them twice. We're closing in on the finale now, but first, the recipe with the strangest origin story of anything on this list, because God allegedly handed over the ingredient list himself. Number 9. Ezekiel sprouted grain bread bowl. Save the best origin story for near the end. This next one is the only recipe on this entire list where the ingredient list itself is presented in Scripture as a divine instruction, not just a food someone happened to eat. In Ezekiel chapter 4, God tells the prophet exactly what to combine: wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, and spelt. 6 ingredients baked into one bread. For centuries, most readers treated that passage as purely symbolic, Then modern nutritionists actually looked at the combination and realized it's one of the most complete protein assemblies you could put in a single loaf. Soak equal handfuls of wheat berries, barley beans, lentils, fava beans, millet, and spelt overnight. Then drain and let them sprout for a day or two. Grind the sprouted mixture into a thick dough with water, salt, and olive oil. Shape into small rustic loaves and bake until firm. Serve warm with olive oil for dipping. Sprouting does something genuinely remarkable here. It breaks down phytic acid, the compound that normally blocks your body from absorbing minerals, and it dramatically increases how much zinc, iron, magnesium, and B vitamins you actually absorb from the grain. Combine 6 different plant proteins in one loaf, and you land on all the essential amino acids your body needs, something almost no single grain or legume pulls off alone. Here's the then versus now that matters most for this one. Modern commercial bread skips the sprouting step almost entirely, relying on refined flour and fast-acting yeast to get a loaf to the shelf as quickly and cheaply as possible. On top of that, the wheat itself has changed. Most wheat grown today descends from short, high-yield semi-dwarf varieties developed in the 1960s, specifically to maximize how much grain a field produces. Researchers comparing old and new wheat samples going back over a century have documented real declines in zinc, copper, and magnesium content as those high-yield varieties took over, largely because breeding prioritized yield over nutrient density. Ancient grains, like the spelt in this recipe, never went through that same push, so they've largely held on to their original mineral profile. Worth knowing, this bread still contains real gluten, same as any wheat product, so it's not a fit for anyone avoiding gluten for medical reasons. Modern bread got faster, softer, and cheaper. This loaf never did, and that's exactly the point. And now, the one I promised you at the very start. Number 10. Barley porridge with dates and cinnamon. Here it is, the one I told you about back at the beginning. Out of everything on this list, this is the only dish built around an ingredient with an actual, official, government-reviewed health claim attached to it. Not a supplement company's marketing line. An FDA-reviewed claim, sitting on real product labels. Simmer hulled barley in water until soft and creamy, stirring occasionally as it thickens. Add chopped dates, cinnamon, and a pinch of salt near the end. Then spoon into bowls with a drizzle of honey or goat milk. Barley shows up constantly in Scripture. Ruth gleans it in the fields of Boaz. Soldiers carried barley bread on military campaigns because it grew in poor soil where wheat wouldn't, and it kept people fed when nothing else could. The science backs up the reputation. Barley is loaded with beta-glucan, a soluble fiber so well documented for lowering cholesterol that the FDA has approved an official health claim allowing barley products to say so on the label. Beyond cholesterol, beta-glucan feeds the specific gut bacteria responsible for producing short-chain fatty acids, the compounds that help repair your gut lining and regulate inflammation throughout your whole body. Dates add potassium and magnesium without the blood sugar spike of refined sugar. And cinnamon's blood sugar regulating effects work well alongside barley's slow-release carbohydrates. Here's the then versus now detail that actually changes what you should buy. Most barley sold in grocery stores today is pearled barley, which has been polished to remove the outer bran layer for a softer texture and faster cook time. The problem is that bran layer is exactly where most of the beta-glucan lives. So a lot of people cooking barley porridge today are working with a version that's already had a good chunk of its most powerful fiber polished away before it even hits the pot. Hulled barley, or hull-less barley, keeps that bran intact. It takes longer to cook, but it's much closer to what Ruth would have actually gleaned from that field. Modern science is really just catching up to what people already knew out of necessity 3,000 years ago. This unglamorous grain was quietly one of the most powerful things they could eat. So here's the thing about all 10 of these. None of them are trendy. None of them come in a bottle promising something miraculous. They're just food, bread, fish, beans, fruit, grain, eaten by people who didn't have much choice about eating well, because eating badly usually meant eating nothing. And a few thousand years later, researchers with lab equipment and government funding keep independently landing on a lot of the same conclusions those people arrived at through pure trial and error. That doesn't mean any of this replaces a doctor, a prescription, or an actual treatment plan. It was never meant to. What it does mean is that a genuinely well-tested, low-risk way to support your health has been sitting in plain sight this whole time, mostly ignored, in a book most households already own. If one of these 10 gave you something you're actually going to cook this week, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps this video reach people who are tired of expensive trends and want something that's actually held up over time. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the moment. Drop a comment and tell me which one you're making first. The pomegranate chicken? The sardine plate? Or are you brave enough to try the barley porridge exactly the way Ruth would have eaten it? I read every comment, and I genuinely want to know. Thank you for sticking around for this one. I know it ran long, but some things are worth taking the time to get right. See you again.